Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Overseas Agro Traders Association Myanmar Managing Committee, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the Sunimpex webinar on Tur and Urad Outlook for India, Myanmar, and East Africa. It is our honor to welcome today's keynote speakers, His Excellency Shri Vinay Kumar, India's Ambassador to Myanmar, and Shri Rohit Kumar Singh, Secretary, Department of Consumer Affairs, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, Government of India. Gentlemen, sir, we thank you for your support and look forward to hearing your thoughts and getting your guidance also. For today's webinar, we have a panel of domain experts from Myanmar, India, and East Africa who will present before you their analysis and thoughts on the demand and supply scenario for Tur and Urad in their respective countries. However, let me caution you that these views and data presented by the speakers are of their own, and we urge you to please do your own due diligence before conducting any transactions based on these views and data. Without any further ado, I would now like to introduce and invite Mr. Shyam Narsaria, President, Overseas Agro Traders Association, Myanmar, to deliver the welcome address. Mr. Narsaria, a chartered accountant, company secretary, and software engineer by qualification, serves as the Chief Executive Officer of RV International Private Limited. Mr. Narsaria has over 2 decades of experience in doing import and export of agriculture products such as pulses, rice, sugar, sesame, spices, maize, and has been based in Myanmar for the last 22 years. Mr. Narsaria is actively involved in sales, purchase, as well as market research analysis of pulses, and has been an eminent speaker at various beans and pulses conferences organized by international organizations. Mr. Narsaria, as I mentioned, also serves as president of OTA Myanmar. Over to you, Mr. Narsaria. Thank you.
Thank you, Pradeep ji. Good evening. On behalf of Overseas Agro Traders Association, MIMA, it is my pleasure and honor of welcoming Sri Rohit Kumar Singh, Secretary, Department of Consumer Affairs, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, Government of India, His Excellency Sri Vinay Kumar, Indian Ambassador to MIMA. All esteemed speakers and over 400 participants which will be joining shortly from across the world for participating in the webinar on Tur and Urad Outlook for India, MIMA, and East Africa. Friends, the last couple of years have seen somewhat topsy-turvy for the pulses trade with multiple factors affecting sowing and production levels of Tur and Urad. Recognizing this, the Department of Consumer Affairs of Government of India, under the expert guidance of Secretary Sri Rohit Kumar Singh, took timely initiative in extending the free import policy for Tur and Urad earlier till March 23 and then till March 31st, 2024. This extension of the free import policy has allowed farmers in MIMA and East Africa plan their sowing to ensure that there are ample supplies available to meet India's demand for Tur and Urad. I'm sure with the guidance of Sri Rohit Kumar Singh from India and the support of His Excellency Sri Vinay Kumar from MIMA, OTA MIMA can achieve great height and ready to serve, as always, the information required by the trade. We at OTA MIMA felt that since India's 2 harvest is close to completion, this was the most opportune time to host this webinar and place facts and figures before trade stakeholders in India, MIMA, and East Africa. I would like to thank our sponsors, Sunimpex, RV International, Young Marine International, BLPL, Sudhima International, MTTM, as well as all our advertising partners for the support and contribution in making this webinar a success. Last but not the least, I would also like to thank all the stakeholders from across the globe for registering and participating in this webinar. I'm sure that you will find today's webinar informative and useful. I now hand you back to Pradeep Korpore to take the webinar forward. Thank you, Pradeep ji, and over to you.
Thank you, Shyamji. I would now like to introduce His Excellency Shri Vinay Kumar, India's Ambassador to Myanmar, and then invite him to speak. His Excellency Shri Vinay Kumar graduated from the Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur in 1991 with BTech Honours degree and then joined the Indian Foreign Service in 1992. His Excellency has served in Indian missions at Tashkent, Bishkek, Ottawa, Warsaw, Tehran, as well as the permanent mission of India in New York and Kathmandu. He was India's political coordinator in the UNSC in 2011-12 and a member of ACABQ in 2013. He was Deputy Chief of Mission in Kathmandu. His Excellency, at the headquarters of the Ministry of External Affairs, has served as Deputy Secretary for Eastern Europe and Russia, Director for Administration, Joint Secretary for East and Southern Division, Southern Africa Division, Joint Secretary for Southern Division, and Additional Secretary for International Organizations. His last foreign assignment was as Ambassador to Afghanistan from 2018 to 2020 and has assumed his current responsibilities as Ambassador to Myanmar on February 24th, 2022. I would request His Excellency Shri Vinay Kumar to please share his thoughts. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Prajit. Let me at the outset convey our embassy's appreciation to Overseas Agricultural Traders Association, WATA, its President Mr. Nelsaria, and all the membership for constant efforts to give a boost to bilateral trade between India and Myanmar in this sector. I'm also very happy that the Secretary Sri Rohit Kumar Singh ji has found time to join me, because his contribution to trade in this area has been very important. I do hope that all the stakeholders and all the participants would benefit from this webinar in getting more information and also the prospects for deepening of trade in this area. If we look at the trade basket between India and Myanmar, trade in agricultural commodities, particularly pulses, forms a very important part. This is significant not only in economic terms, but also gives the Indian population food security and a reliable source of protein and nutrition in Indian diet. As we are aware, a major chunk of Indian population is vegetarian, which derives its protein requirements primarily from consumption of pulses. To this end, India imports urad, tur, and moong from Myanmar. If we look at import of pulses from Myanmar in the last 5 years, the figure has increased from nearly $432 million in 2017-18 to nearly $758 million last year. Recognizing the importance of this trade, and in order to lend it predictability, we have always endeavored to work with ministries, Commerce Ministry, and particularly Consumer Affairs Ministry, to give it a predictability for the traders, farmers, and as well as consuming population. So first time in June 2021, an MOU was signed for trade in the urad and tur. Through this MOU, India provides an annual quota of 2.5 metric tons of urad and 1 lakh metric tons of tur to Myanmar to private trade for 5 years from 2021-22 to 25-26. This was followed by a notification by the DGFT to put trade in urad and tur in free category regime. These imports were kept under free category open general license till March 2023, and last month, as was mentioned, this has been extended till March of next year, 2024. This categorization under free trade regime is expected to enhance the trade and also benefit the producers and traders by providing greater access to Indian market. While the notification from the Indian side have helped provide a greater degree of stability and predictability, it would also be helpful to look towards expanding trade basket to include other agro commodities and value-added products. This will help absorb possible trade fluctuations. Myanmar also could explore growing other varieties of pulses, which India presently imports from elsewhere, and it would benefit naturally from the geographical proximity between the two countries. Further, we are also looking forward to a strengthening of connectivity between the two countries. It is our major foreign policy objective to complete the connectivity projects which are undergoing at present. As you all are aware, very recently, Sitwe port has been completed, and earlier this month we had a trial run in which rice traders from the region undertook some exports. We are also finalizing coastal shipping agreement between India and Myanmar. Both these things together, along with the port of a newly port in Yangon, which has been constructed with Indian investment, and the port in Rakhine in Sitwe, provides a good opportunity for direct trade between the two countries to lower down the cost and also avoid transit makes. In terms of expanding the overall trade basket, we have also established centers for agricultural research and education and state-of-art facilities which have been set up in the Asian University Advanced Center for Agricultural Research and Education, and also Rice Biopark, which will provide to capacity building, training and research. And I would invite the participants to look at that cooperation as well beyond the trade between the two countries. Through all these efforts, our aim is to create greater scope for a stable and a strong agricultural trade. India recently hosted the Voice of Global South Summit, in which Myanmar's Minister of Commerce, Mr. Aung Naing Woo, participated. An important highlight of the summit was the need for a steady and a strong agricultural trade among the South-South countries to address issues of food security in a sustainable manner. This is also in line with India's own focus of creating inclusive and resilient food chains, as well as ensuring adequate nutrition and food sufficiency for all. And Myanmar and the work that OTA and its members are doing contributes to this. So with these words, I once again thank the organizers, OTA, its president, for giving us an opportunity to engage on this important sector. And I reassure you all of our continued support of the embassy for bilateral trade between the two countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you so much for your kind words. It is now my honor and pleasure to introduce Shri Rohit Kumar Singh, Secretary, Department of Consumer Affairs, Government of India, and then invite him to speak. Shri Singh, currently serving as the Secretary for the Consumer Affairs Department, is an IS officer of the 1989 batch Rajasthan cadre. After graduating in electrical engineering from Indian Institute of Technology, Banaras Hindu University, he completed Masters in Computer Engineering from Clarkson University, New York, USA, before joining the Indian Administrative Service. Subsequently, he obtained Masters in Public Administration from Harvard University, USA. Shri Singh has worked extensively and provided leadership at middle and senior levels in Government of India and in the state of Rajasthan, across departments, for example, National Highways, Medical and Health, Home, Information Technology, Finance, Commercial Taxes, Urban Infrastructure Development, Road Transport, Rural Development, Culture and Information, and Public Relations. Shri Singh has led the government's initiative of reviving public-private partnerships in national highways via key policy interventions like the hybrid annuity model through appropriate risk allocation among the public and private partners. Shri Singh has also successfully led the initiative of asset recycling of publicly funded national highways, the toll operate transfer model that resulted in one of the largest FDIs in the highway sector, amounting to US dollars 1.5 billion, one of the first successful asset monetization in India. As Additional Chief Secretary of the Department of Medical, Health and Family Welfare in Rajasthan, during the first wave of COVID-19 in the year 2020, he developed and deployed the Bhilwara model of ruthless containment, to successfully manage COVID upsurge in the rural and urban hotspots across Rajasthan. Sir, it is definitely a pleasure and an honor to have you here today. I would like to request you to please share your thoughts and guide us in the webinar. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. His Excellency Mr. Vinay Kumar, our ambassador in Myanmar, Mr. Shyam Narsaria, President of OATA, Mr. Pradeep Ghorpade, all the other dignitaries present in the webinar, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I want to thank the organizers for inviting me. It's a very interesting subject and a subject which is relevant to us as Department of Consumer Affairs throughout the year. So as I mentioned earlier, pulses are a very important part of the food plate of people across India. South, north, east, west, everywhere there is consumption of pulses. If you see the country as a whole, we consume about 270 to 275 lakh tons of pulses in a year, which is almost 27.5 million tons. In general, we produce about 255 lakh tons. So, as given the pulses as a whole, we every year have a requirement of about 20 to 25 lakh tons that requires to be imported. In terms of the composition of pulses that are consumed in the country, chana or the gram occupies the biggest percentage. It's about 46-47% of the country's pulses consumption is chana. And then it is followed by tuar, urad, moong, and then masoor. In terms of production, I think we are the most deficient in masoor, which is lentils, and we produce only about half of what we consume. So every year there is a dependence, and we do meet our requirements from the imports from Canada, Australia, and other countries. Today's webinar is focused on tuar and urad. As President OATA mentioned in his initial remarks, the production of pulses is heavily dependent on weather and other conditions. So there is a fluctuation every year. And also farmer keeps exercising his choices in a novel way every year, depending on which crop is expected to give them returns. For example, if we talk of the current year, the production is likely to be less. I'm talking of tuar now, less than what it was last year. So in terms of area sown, area cultivated, it is almost the same. But I think the weather conditions and a little bit of effect of the wilt disease in parts of Karnataka and southern Maharashtra, there have been issues. So we are expecting the production to be about 33 lakh tons. Now that increases our requirement of import. And my guess is that we should be importing around 10 lakh tons this year. Now, where is this 10 lakh tons going to come from? It's going to come from East African countries and Myanmar, and both are our solid partners in terms of ensuring the availability and consequently the affordability in India. Like we are meeting here with the Excellency, the Ambassador in Myanmar. Only last Friday, I had a video conference with all our high commissioners of the East African countries, and we took stock of the position of the expected crop in 2023. And since the sowing season begins there now, it is currently happening, we wanted to provide some sort of a comfort level to the growers in East African countries that there is a market which is going to be available in India. So if they want to push up the production of tuar in those countries, they are most welcome, and we would not be found wanting in terms of facilitation of imports to this country. As Shyamji mentioned, and Excellency also mentioned, the free import regime in these dals have been extended till 31st March 2024. This is decided by a committee headed by Honorable Home Minister, which is a group of ministers with 5 ministers there. And I think they realized that by providing a consistent import policy on a long-term basis, it is a win-win proposition for both India and the countries that are exporting, because unless there is a consistency, the growers in the country, which are primarily going to export the crops, will not have will not be in a position to take that decision in the long term. So I think that has helped. And we saw last year, except a bit of increase in tuar, which was about 8.7%. If we see from January to this January, I'm talking 22 and 23. I think all the other pulses in India, the prices either remain steady or there is some reduction. I will like to give a lot of credit to this consistency in import policy for the prices in India to have remained stable. Of course, I also want to thank OATA and the exporters from East African countries who have provided us very consistent supports. We've also very rigorously followed up the process of what is coming to the country, whether there is any difficulty being faced. And there were some incidents in Mozambique and in Myanmar also in terms of the funding issue and some bank transactions not being allowed under some confusion. So I would like to assure you that the way we took proactive steps, we engaged with the Ministry of Finance and Reserve Bank of India and our High Commission in Mozambique, that we should not. It should not become a hindrance, these procedural things, and things should come faster because it's good for both countries. So I want to assure you again on behalf of Government of India that we believe in consistent import policy. We will make sure that the imports, to the extent they are required in this country, to maintain the availability and affordability of pulses in 2023. The Government of India will not be found wanting. We will make more than the required efforts to ensure that seamless import happens, because I think all of us working for the same objective to ensure that the availability and the consequent affordability of the pulses remains at the optimal level in India. In terms of production of tuar, we took stock because if we have to if the estimate is that we will require about 10 lakh tons, then what is the exportable surplus in these countries? So, like I said, when we engaged with our high commissions in last week in East African countries, and now we are engaging here, I think the overall availability of tuar will be around 14 to 15 lakh tons combined aggregate of both the geographies. And the exportable surplus is going to be around 11 to 12 lakh tons. That is our estimate. I mean, this may change because the year is yet to begin. So I think in terms of our requirement of about 10 lakh tons, we're going to be comfortable in tuar. And we will ensure that there are no procedural hassles in bringing this stuff to India. In terms of Urad, we are really dependent on Myanmar, and we understand the crop is good and the production is probably of the order of 7 lakh tons. And since 95% of what we import in Urad comes from Myanmar, so that's a good sign. And we will ensure that, again, there are no procedural hassles in bringing this. One bit of caution or about this MOU thing. The Excellency mentioned that we have an MOU which was signed in 2021 for 5 years. And this is relevant for the East African countries also. See, when you have a free import policy, then this MOU thing becomes almost redundant. I mean, it loses its relevance because now there are no quotas, no restrictions, and the stuff can flow seamlessly. So last week when we engaged with our people in the East African countries, there was some talk of this being the already signed MOUs signifying some quota. So I want to dispel that notion that there is no quota. We have a free import policy, and this will be determined by the market and the trade, and we would ensure that whatever is required in the country flows seamlessly. I know there are issues. It has not been raised, but I would answer it before it is raised on the Moong part. And I think you have to see the dynamics that operates and where we are coming from. We have to ensure that the domestic farmer also gets a good price for his product, and he does not get shortchanged by imports, not only in Moong but in agri commodities and even otherwise. So as long as we are comfortable in terms of production, we would like to protect the domestic farmer. The Moong sowing has been very good. And as you know, Moong is a very, I would like to call it a casual kind of a crop. It grows fast. It grows in various parts of India. And last summer, the Narmada region of Madhya Pradesh, we saw a humongous rise in terms of cultivated area and production. So at the moment, we are very comfortable. But if it is required, there will be a reconsideration of the decision. So overall, once again, thanking you for inviting me here to talk to all the dignitaries here and to engage with our ambassador, Excellency Mr. Vinay Kumar. Once again, I would like to assure on behalf of Government of India that procedural hassles or any other impediments will not come in the way of seamless imports, which is driven by this policy decision that imports of these three dals are free till March 2024. This is a win-win proposition, and I think both sides must work together to ensure that in the end, like a good Bollywood movie, everybody is happy in the end. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm quite sure all the stakeholders who are listening in right now are going to be extremely happy. And I think even breathing a huge sigh of relief that, yes, the government is going to be supporting everything that is required to be done to ensure that there is affordable and ample availability of the pulses in India. Sir, one small request, if you can please try and be with us till the end, because I'm quite sure there could be some questions coming your way as the webinar progresses. And as far as the production numbers,
I have a meeting with the Prime Minister's office at 5. So I can be here for next 25 minutes. So if there are any questions, I will take it. But sorry, I'll have to leave at 5 because there's a very important meeting on some other subject.
Sure, sir. Once Vatsal comes in, I think there probably are some questions already popping up. But what I was about to say is that the stakeholders, the presenters from Africa and Myanmar would also be giving you a pretty good idea in terms of what the production there is expected, what are the availabilities for export. And yes, I will separately email you all these presentations also later so that you would have them on record. I would actually, before I hand over to Vatsal, I'd like to just go to Mr. Narsaria. Sir, Shamji, if you recall, there was one discussion that had happened with respect to the certificate of origin and issues being caused because of the import duty part. Would you like to quickly take that up? Because once Sir leaves, then it's a good idea to just bring it to his notice right now.
Yeah, yes. Thank you, Pradeep. Actually, there is an issue going on regarding the certificate of origin with regard to Myanmar, especially for Turhol. Now we are putting Turhol under the least developed country certificate, which doesn't attract duty. But there are so many complications. So since there is no duty under this, but still Indian government is maintaining 20% duty, I think 10% duty in import of Turhol. So yes, sir, 10%. Yeah. So I request His Excellency, since this 10% duty is of no use in the current context, can we request you to remove it so that all the importers in India can import hassle-free and there are no additional documents and delays from Myanmar side and India side in clearing Turhol? This is request from OTA Myanmar, sir.
Sir, this is also if I may add, so that I think this also is the same situation where African imports are concerned. And what happens is, sir, there are signatures that are required on these documents. At times, those signatures don't get updated in the system, or there's a new officer who comes in. And if there is a signature mismatch in any random checks or verifications, the whole process takes about 4 months almost for it to get rectified. And the stocks get stuck at the ports after having arrived. Since under LDC and ASEAN, there is no import duty that can be applied, can the 10% be removed completely from the tariffs totally?
So,
That's the request from Africa and Myanmar.
Pradeep ji, there is some I have to say regarding there is no duty as it is under least development countries. So when we are opening the imports, we should remove all this import duty because that is creating hassle. Import duty, the CO and corridor is also there, and this BCD is also creating problems to every port. So this should be avoided, seamless, because all the clearing agents are getting hassle from these things, and there is lot of this CO signature problems are there. So there is a dam rate detentions problems are there. When the duty is not there, it should be clearly wiped out, and it should not be mentioned on this DGFT part.
Thank you, Bhojwani sir. I think we've brought up that point now to Secretary Sir's attention. Sir, would you like to comment something?
So I have noted this. I am aware of the duty structure, and I'm aware of that from certain LDCs and other countries, this is not charged. So send me quickly a representation, maybe today or tomorrow, and we'll take it up. If it's proving to be an impediment, maybe we will take it up to the competent authority and get an appropriate decision. We'll have to see it in bigger perspective, but I can see that the country of origin certificate can cause this some delay. So yes, send me a representation, because I think you are raising it now for the first time. I did not hear this.
That's right, sir. That's right, sir.
I've been here for 1 year, so this is the first time you are telling me. But we will take care of this. Don't worry on this.
Thank you so much,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you
so much.
Moving on, I'm now going to introduce our moderator for this evening, Mr. Vatsal Lilani. Vatsal, a commerce graduate from Mumbai University and armed with a master's in marketing, serves as a managing director of Evertop Commodities based in Myanmar. After a 15-year stint with Andre & Sai, Vatsal started his own business and has worked at several locations internationally like Bangkok, Toronto, Dubai, Singapore, and has extensive experience in the grain trade. Vatsal also is the immediate past president of OTA Myanmar. So Vatsal, over to you to take the webinar forward. And one small request, Vatsal, if you can just tilt the screen a little lower so that we can see more of you. That's perfect. Over to you, Vatsal. Thank you so very much. You need to unmute, Chief.
Thank you, Pradeep. Now, before we get on to the panel for Urad and Tuar, we have an interesting question from one of the leading dal millers in Delhi. And this is a question for Mr. Singh. It is, why is mung still restricted? Prices are skyrocketing in India. This is what the question is.
First of all, I want to disagree that prices are skyrocketing. Skyrocketing is a very intense word. There was some increase last week, about 10 days. We have adequate stocks in the buffer, and only yesterday, a day before yesterday, it has been decided to release a lot of stock from the buffer to cool down the prices.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Let's get on with the panels. First of all, good evening, everybody. I'd like to thank OTA Myanmar and Shyam Narsaria, the president, for having invited me to moderate this webinar. We have an all-star panel as far as Tuar is concerned. And our speakers today are Manoj Chaudhary from Myanmar, Manohar Bhojwani from India, and Mr. Mahesh Gidia from Africa. Manoj has an overall experience of 18 years in trading. He started his career at the young age of 23 as a trader, and he currently serves as the country head for Sun Impex International, which is one of the leading trading companies based out of Singapore. We are also the title sponsor for this webinar. Mr. Chaudhary also serves as the secretary for OTA Myanmar. Introducing Mr. Manohar Bhojwani, who is the CEO for Diet Foods International. He is also the CEO for Dayalu Dal and Oil Mill. He is a seasoned professional in the pulses and oils market and is based out of Nagpur. Mr. Bhojwani also serves as the managing director of Nagpur Dal Millers Cluster and is the president of Mihan Industries Association. Mr. Mahesh Gedia is based in Lilongwe in Malawi, is a science graduate from Saurashtra University in Rajkot, and currently serves as the executive director at Bajrang International Group, as well as he is the MD for the group companies like Sun Gold Food Processing, Lilongwe Plastic Packaging, and Paramount Commodities. Prior to joining Bajrang International, Mr. Gedia has had extensive stints with the central government of India and with the ETG group in Tanzania as well as Malawi. Mr. Gedia's extroverted and customer-centric leadership has allowed him to build strong customer loyalty and grow the organization's market share on a consistent basis. He has a proven management style, guiding businesses through growth and retaining high-performance teams to develop and implement his strategies. That said, I'd first like to go to Mr. Manoj Chaudhary, who is going to be giving us an introduction on Myanmar, what the crop size is, what the outlook is. So over to you, Manoj.
Thank you, Vasalji. Minglawa, Namaskar, and good evening to all the viewers. I will be giving a short presentation and outlook about the Myanmar origin. I am serving as a country head for Sun Impacts. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Myanmar is an agriculture country, and agriculture sector is the backbone of its economy. Agriculture sector almost contributes 40% of its GDP. In Myanmar, there are different types of beans and pulses has been producing, including black mape, pigeon peas, green mung beans, chana, soya bean, rajma, adzuki beans, lablab, nylon, bamboo beans, and many such others. Out of beans, Urad, tur, mung contributes the major portion. Almost 70 to 75% of this is Urad and tur and mung. If we consider the total production of tur in Myanmar, in this 80 to 90% has been exports to exports to India. So mainly the domestic prices in Myanmar highly depends on the India's demand. Apart from this, pulses also improves the efficiency and resilience of the cropping system. It gives the nitrogen and other minerals to the soil. Next slide, please. About tur, pigeon peas are called by many names in Indian regional languages like arhar in Hindi, togri bela in Kannada, tur in Bengali, turi in Marathi, kandlu in Telugu. If we consider as a nutritional part, tur is an excellent source for proteins, iron, vitamins like A, vitamins B6, calcium, magnesium, potassium, and many other such minerals. Out of the world's total production, India produces more than 65% of tur, and rest is followed by the Africa and Myanmar. Next slide, please. Mainly tur growing areas in Myanmar. Tur grows mainly as a monsoon crop, and growing time is in June, July, and harvested time is in December, January, and February. It is almost a 6 months crop. Main areas in tur is Manle, Zagai, Magwe, and Chin State. Chin States mainly produces Linkhe quality tur, and other states like Pakopu, Monjwa, Aolong, Chopada, Methila, Minanje, Pe, Chause, which produces the lemon qualities. Next slide, please. There are different varieties of the tur produces in Myanmar, like lemon, Linkhe Shwefla, Malai Shwefla, Shwebo, Zagai, red and white, small and bold, and also there is some like double nose or Chindi tur, what we call. But in the recent times, due to the India demand is mostly for the lemon, the other crop size has been decreases a lot. Like double nose and Malay has been reduces a lot. Red and white is very difficult to find. a basic difference between the Linke Tour and Lemon Tour is about the size is uniform in Linke Tour. It is having a less damage percentage. So mostly the Tour Schwefala is been preferred by the miller side. And the lemon, it is a tradable commodity and it has been very easy to sell in India. So highly demand is for lemon. Next, please. Now I give you some numbers about these stocks. Like from last year, like India has extended this import till March 2023. So the production in Myanmar is almost double compared to the production in year 2021. Similarly, this year also India has extended its import tour till March 2024. So we are hoping to have increase in the sowing area. So maybe in the coming years, the numbers or quantity may increase or surplus than the 300,000 in the future years. Currently, we are considering the opening stock is approximately 15,000 metric ton, and we are estimating the crop size around 280 to 290,000 metric ton. As we all know, the tour mainly depends on India. So all the prices and everything, its domestic market is totally dependent on the India demand and requirement. To some extent, this tour is also exported from Myanmar is to Nepal and UAE. Having a consistent import policy from India will also help a consistent production increase in Myanmar, which will help to cater the Indian demand in a big way. As per the market information for the current year, more than 2,500 containers had already been traded for the new crop for the different period of shipment. That is approximately 60,000 metric ton is already been traded here. Also, just like to raise that issue once again for LDC, and also like to thank Mr. His Excellency Rohit Kumarji that to taking it as a positively and taking some steps on the that 10% duty matter, so that in tour the trade become more feasible and more easy from these two countries like Myanmar and Africa. Next one, sir. I'd like to thank you, Sun Impacts, for giving me an opportunity, and also will like to thank OTA President Mr. Shyam Narsaria and Vice President Mr. Anand Charger for providing the necessary inputs in this. At the end, I would also like to thank Indian government for extending the OGL till March 2024. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Manoj. We have a few questions for you. Can you walk us through your crop estimation method? Because I think it is very important that people know how exactly we've come to these numbers. So can you just walk us through it?
Vasalji, now like seeing you, it's like facing a 1980s West Indies fast bowler, getting a bouncers right now. Okay, it's like we have a different research here. Like we had discussed with different traders in local suppliers in Myanmar, Yangon, who exports a maximum tour. Also in a different regions like tour, like actually tour is also started coming from December end. So we have discussed so many people in the different range areas that what is the daily coming and all that thing. So with that we have estimated, and last year's export and import data, we have come to this figure.
Okay, understood. I think that is a good answer, so that people at least know as to how you arrived at these numbers. Can you tell us as to what the weather has been like this year and how the quality is for the current crop? And also, once that is done, as to what the logistics situation is currently out of Myanmar.
Currently, like in starting, like when the Monjwa and some recent crop started, it was a bit smaller in size regarding the quality concern. But now the quality is very uniform and it is good, and the weather is excellent. So we are looking at this year the quality, there won't be any issue. And referring to the logistics sector, like sir, as His Excellency has already said that a Situate port has been developed. So maybe in the coming months, we may have some shipments from Situate to Chennai or Situate to Calcutta. Due to the transit time will be very less from that particular sector. It's almost only a day or two.
Okay, noted. Excellent. Now tell us, the government of India has put tuar into OGL till March 2024. Will this make a substantial difference in the planting of tuar for the 24 crop? We've already seen, I think, a fair amount of planting increase for this year. But do you think there'll be a further increase? Because the sowing will happen in June, July of this year, which is when the OGL will still be in effect for the next 9 months after that.
Yes, I'm thinking that this is the very positive step taken by the Indian government, and at a very right time, that Myanmar people will know that even the OGL is till March 2024, their crop will start mid of December 2023, new crop. So in 3 months can be exported. So yes, definitely looking that the sowing may increase. What we have seen the last year, it is almost the double of 2021. So
Okay.
maybe this 20 to 30% sowing may increase.
Okay, understood. Excellent. And where do you see the prices for Feb, March, April for tuar lemon on a CNF Chennai basis? What do you see the range to be?
See, currently the CNF Chennai is trading around 825 to 830 levels, and the local prices for the in India for the March is around 6900, 6950 level, and local tour prices are going around 72 to 75 in between the area wise. So it's still they have a chance that it can go up to $20-25 plus minus from here.
Okay. And what about the flow in the market as far as the new crop is concerned? I mean, do we see peak arrivals at this point, or are we already past that point?
No. The arrivals will start, already started, and peak arrival will, like all the area, like Along and Pakoko area has started now for the tour. So, this Shefla and Malay area, this will come now.
Okay, so we can say that all the arrivals are not finished as yet, correct?
No, yes, correct. It's not yet finished.
And there is a possibility for the prices to either remain at this level or even possibly go down a little bit once the arrivals from Monjwa and Pakoko start.
See, it's totally depend on the India's means demand. But currently, what we look at means demand from India side, like 800 CNF Chennai is more or less bottom side, and till March, April, 845, 8 level is a higher side. Maybe some more plus minus will be there. It totally depends on the market demand, how it gets from India side.
And what is the freight at the moment, container freight into Chennai?
Container freight into Chennai is depend on $22 to $26 per metric ton. Direct, indirect vessel conditions separate.
Okay, so how much is it per container?
Per container, it is around 550 to 650 level between.
Okay, indirect and direct.
Yeah.
And are you able to get as many containers as you would like to have?
Yeah, right now there is no shortage of any book containers.
Okay. Okay, excellent, Manoj. Thank you so much. I'd now like to go to Mr. Manohar Gujrati for his presentation. Over to you, Mr. Manohar.
Yeah, good evening, everybody joined globally. First of all, we welcome Shri Rohit Kumar Singh Ji, Secretary, Department of Consumer Affairs, Government of India, and Mr. Vinay Kumar Ji, Ambassador of Myanmar for India. For this joining for this important webinar, which is going to be an important commodity across the globe, and it is very sensitive for the consumers of India. And also we congratulate the entire team of OTA for organizing an important webinar at this time when the harvest is going on in India, and everybody wants to know what the pricing scenario will go and how the market trends will go. So presently we'll present a short PPT about this. But before that, I want to request Mr. Singh that regarding this again, that BCD issue, and again there is a problem which is we are facing of this clearance regarding this BCD term is there. So again we request you from the Indian importer side that please take care of this issue so that we can seamlessly import the tour from Burma and present it to entire this consumer committee. So now we start with the my presentation. Short presentation is there. Next slide.
You can go to the next slide, Afaq.
Vasalji, I think his screen is frozen, so maybe you can take it up.
Please go for next slide.
Okay, I'm not able to see the screen, unfortunately. I don't know why that is so. Maybe I pressed something wrongly. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Vasalji, you are on screen. Please continue.
Okay, so Manoj, have you finished your presentation? Because I lost you for a while.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so we have a few questions.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm not able to see the questions that were posted, and I'll leave it to Pradeep to ask those questions.
Yeah,
But
no, presentation is right now with me
okay,
on
sorry.
the screen. So see this tour acreage from 1415, 1516, 1617, 1718, 1819, 1920, 2021, 21, 22, 22, 23. So the highlighting thing is that there was an increase in product by hectare, lakh hectare in 1617, 5.34, and output yield was 9 quintal 13 kg per hectare. And now in 22-23, the most important thing is 22-23, which we are expecting all the details for this thing. Area is 4.54 million hectare, and production is minus 3 million lakh ton. This is very important thing where we are concerned about. Next slide. And there is a state-wise production data. Karnataka, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Jharkhand, and Odisha. The important is mostly Karnataka and Maharashtra, where we have in Karnataka 21-22 14.5 billion hectare, and Maharashtra 13.20 billion hectare in 21-22. In 22-23 it is 14 million hectare, and next is Maharashtra 11.65. The year over change is 3.25 negative in say Karnataka and 11.98 in Maharashtra. This is very important thing to note, to be noted. And again the effect on yield also. There is a slightly decrease in yield also. So this is very important things to note it down, because these are the two important states from where we get the tour.
Mr. Bhojwani, are you done with your presentation? Hello?
Vasalji, I think his connection is weak, so maybe you can continue.
Okay, so let's go on to Mr. Mahesh Gedia. Mahesh, would you like to start your presentation? Then we can come back to Mr. Bhojwani.
Yeah, that's fine, Vatsalji.
Sorry?
That's fine. Fine.
Okay, please start your presentation.
There's some noises coming. Good evening and namaste. Slide, please. First of all, His Excellency Sri Rohit Kumar Singh Ji, His Excellency Sri Vinay Kumar Ji, OTA President, all members and all protocol observed. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I like to present Africa story, basically for PGN Peace Outlook. Myself Mahesh Gedia, and I'm Executive Director at Bajrang International Group, BIG. From past 23 years, I'm residing in Africa and dealing in agriculture commodity. Currently, I am based in Malawi, Central Africa, which is called the warm heart of Africa, with a beautiful and peaceful country, with kind and polite people with beautiful hearts. So I'd like to invite you all to welcome and visit Malawi. Thank you very much. And next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. I like to give brief about our group, Bajrang International, Global Pulses Outlook, African Pulses Market, India import status for PGNP out of Africa, and impact on Africa pulses post Indian government policy changes. This is our about Bajrang. Is our mission is to develop and expand a diversified and innovative, fully integrated, sustainable value chain that impacts, benefit, and strengthens the livelihood of smallholders in Africa, alongside delivering sustainable commercial rates. We are focused and committed to development and value addition in Africa. We will achieve this by investing and operating projects that have a direct economic and social impact for our employees and their families, as well as smallholders and other value chain participants. This approach will ensure sustainable benefit to all stakeholders. Next slide, please. This is our business overlook. You can able to see some photograph, which is for business activity. We have 3 core business cluster, with each having synergy value for the group. Our main business cluster is agro cluster, and we are sourcing, processing, and trading agriculture commodities from Africa to the rest of the world. Second cluster is a packaging cluster, where we have PP bag production and packaging, which helps in reduction of post-harvest and wastage. Third cluster is for engineering and construction. Next slide, please. This is a global pulses outlook. As you can see, the global production is 90 to 92 million metric ton. African production is near about 20 to 22 million metric ton. India production is a 23 to 24 million metric ton. And global export is between 11 to 12 million metric ton. The global production is not directly in line with the global export. It is a traded volume. Indian import of pulses has gone down from 5.6 million metric ton in 2017 to 18 to around 814,000 metric ton in 2021-2022, is from April to March 22. Next slide, please. Next is the African pulses market. In terms of volume, pulses export from Africa is negligible compared to Canada, Russia, Myanmar, and Australia. Still, it plays a major role when it comes to export of pigeon peas, green gram, and desi chickpeas. Total pulses export out of Africa is around 1 to 1.5 million metric ton. The commodity-wise breakup is like under. If you can see, the pigeon peas is mainly grown in Malawi, Mozambique, Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, and Sudan. And the volume is nearly about 400 to 500,000 metric ton. Chickpeas mainly grown in Sudan, Ethiopia, and Tanzania. And the total volume is nearly about 300 to 400,000 metric ton. Green gram mainly is Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, and Ethiopia. And the volume is between 150 to 200,000 metric ton. Next slide, please. This is an Indian import status for pigeon peas. Pigeon peas import into India country-wise is as stated below, like Mozambique. Last year, 2021 to 2022 is approximately 320,000 metric ton. Tanzania is around 191,000. From Malawi, approximately 59,000. Sudan, 49,000. Uganda is 6,000 and Kenya 375. While up to November 23, Mozambique is 198,000 metric ton. But if we reach by March, I think it is going to hit nearly about 300 to 350,000 metric ton. Tanzania is 76,000 metric ton from 191,000 ton. Tanzania crop was good, but there is a drought in Kenya, and a lot of pigeon peas also, the border is very open. So a lot of pigeon peas is going to Kenya side, and that's the reason we can able to see there is a less export from the Tanzania. Malawi is 37,000 up to November, and I think by March is going to be hit the same level of last year. Sudan is 23,000 and Uganda 240 and Kenya like a 0. You can see Mozambique, Tanzania, Malawi, and Sudan is playing a bigger role for pulses for the export. Next slide, please. This is an impact on African pulses post Indian government policy changes. Compared to the developed nations, African pulses are produced by smallholder farmers. As we know that in Africa, majority is a small scale farmers, and they are using their handheld tools by method of the growing and harvesting, and have managed to maintain their importance in the Indian pulses market, even though the volume are relatively small. And mainly the farmers, they are growing to just fill their need and not for the business purposes as such, as a commercial business. Restrictions imposed by government of India in import of pulses has changed the dynamic, and the production of pigeon peas has dropped in Tanzania, Kenya, and Uganda as farmers struggle to find a market because major market is India. Whereas the production in Malawi and Mozambique has gone up due to a bilateral agreement between the government of Mozambique and Malawi. Last year, I understand the bilateral the agreement is signed by Tanzania and Malawi with the Indian government. And now we know that it is an open import policy, so it helps Africa. And we have like the cross-border trades is happening between the Mozambique and Malawi, because as I said, is a very relaxed borders between all African countries. So we like to congratulate Indian government that they open up for the import policy, which is really assisting Africa. And that is our request. And we recommend and request that pigeon peas should be permanently removed from the restricted commodity item list, as it does not compete with Indian farmers in any manner, nor that they can double or triple the production overnight, because it's a handheld, the tools they are using. So it's not possible for them to do the overnight. And again, we need to understand the Africa is very fast, so the information coming from the India is get a time, and for the farmers is required also the enough time to grow enough pigeon peas. Unlike like Russia, Canada, Australia, and other developed economy, which they can able to increase the production immediately. Hence, I like to request that government of India should not have any fear with regard to African imports into India and the competition with Indian farmers. And we like to urge to government of India to support Africa and African market and African farmers. With next slide, please. With this, I like to say a big thank you for this opportunity, and like to request captain of this industries that if there is any data mistake or any suggestion or any comment or business inquiry, please feel free to contact me through my number or email to at least upgrade my knowledge as well. Once again, thank you very much for your attention.
Maheshbhai, thank you so much for your presentation. Maheshbhai, thank you for your presentation. Before we get on to the questions, I just want to make an announcement that we, on the right-hand side of all the viewers, there is a console for Q&A. So if you have any questions, you can put them and then we will take them on depending on the time that permits us. Now, before I get on to questions to Maheshbhai, there was a question asked for Manoj. And Mr. Rakesh Jain would like to know as to what is the breakup between the production of lemon and linke in Myanmar. Manoj, can you brief us as to what the split of the production is between these two qualities?
Sir, lemon is majorly lemon is there. Approximately 75 to 80% is lemon, and linke contributes around 15 to 18%. Okay. So if we go by the number, it is approximately 50, means not more than 20,000 ton will be there linke.
Okay, thank you. Maheshbhai, we have a few questions for you. We have heard of a lot of stories on logistical challenges last year for shipments out of Africa. Can you please tell us what they are and how they were addressed by the shippers? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vatsalji. I can reply in a simple way. You know that always the people and companies are giving more preference to rich countries and not the poor country because of more profitability. All we know that due to COVID, for 2 years, entire world supply chain was disrupted on a large scale. Therefore, as soon as the COVID got over, demand for various products to developed nations increased sharply. Hence, most of the shipping companies neglected Africa and focused on trades out of China to USA and rest of the world. Importation of Africa was dropped down because of the forex scarcity and many other reasons. Hence, there was a shortage of containers. In Africa, we have limited port facility and storage facility, road infrastructure, transportation issue, fuel scarcity. So such logistic challenges are there. However, we from Africa, started, when you have some challenge, you can try to find some solution for that. And we started shipping the cargo in bulk to overcome from the shortage of containers. We feel that the current container rate is also on a higher side. And we expect that in next couple of years, the export would be a combination of bulk and containerized shipment. Thank you very much, Vatsalji.
Thank you so much. Lovely answer. We have one more question for you, or two more actually. You know, we've seen a huge price difference last year in the month of August, September, October between the African Tour and Myanmar lemon. At one point, it was almost about $150 a ton. Do you think such a difference is justified?
Thank you. Let me explain, and I think the captain of the industries can decide that justification. When we have a structure and controlled market versus a free market, rate difference is there and is justified. It is like, you are buying the same product from a supermarket and when you are buying from the street vendor. So when you are buying from the supermarket, you see the price and you are not negotiating at all. While the street vendors, you are trying to negotiate. So I think that is the simple answer. But I can say it is a trend pattern. However, the trend has been set due to the following reason. One, if you can see that Africa has a very relaxed policy and a free environment for business, and anyone can buy, sell, or export the cargo out of Africa. As you know, many of our Indian, Dubai, and Singapore broker and our company come Africa during the season for 2-3 months. Buy and export is possible. Unlike Myanmar, where you have to remit 100% advance to the indigenous supplier, this has created a little bit monopoly and also speculation in the trade, and their holding power for the Myanmar holding power has a capacity to trade across the year, whereas in Africa, we do the trading during the season normally. The small farmers, whatever they produce, they try to sell their produce in the window of maximum 2 or 3 months. And maximum exports is happen within the 4 to 6 months. Second thing is that the African varieties are bold and little difficult to process compared to Myanmar, which is quite similar in size in comparison to like Indian tour. Hence, it fetches a little premium over the African tour. So the difference goes big as the demand and supply varies. Thank you, Vatsalji. Hello.
Maheshji, there's one more question for you. Is what is the current freight from Africa to Nhava Sheva and Chennai?
Recent, I think I need to check that one, Pradeepji. I do not have in my mind.
Approximation or a range?
Really, I need to check that one, the current one.
Okay, you can let us know, then we can share it with the participants.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay. Manojji, Bhojani Sahab, you were saying something?
Yeah, I'm telling you, there are some statistical mistakes are there. So can you start my PPT so that we can verify these statics regarding crop of scenario of India and share of Burma and of Africa. There is a comparison data is given there, and it is
sir. Bhojwani Sahab, I think we'll go with the data that the individual countries have presented currently.
Right.
And any questions that are coming in and need to be addressed, we'll get answers on email and then share them with you, with everybody.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, Mahesh ji, Bhojwani sahab, and Chaudhary sahab. I would now like to introduce and welcome Ms. Jesslyn Carvalho. She is the head for procurement and business development, Sun Impex, who is the title sponsor for our today's webinar, and we'd like her to present her the corporate presentation for Sun Impex. Over to you, Jesslyn.
Thank you, Mr. Pradeep. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Sun Impex International Foods, I, Jessin Carvalho, Sales and Procurement Executive, welcome you to the OTA Myanmar webinar. To begin with, I would like to introduce our director and founder, Mr. Samant Bindal, who is a pioneering entrepreneur. He came to Dubai in 2005 with a dream to succeed, with his great vision and dedication. Sun Impex now is a world-renowned agro-trading company. To his team, he's a great mentor. His leadership has guided the company to its success in every venture. He has always empowered his team to be confident individuals, encouraging us to be independent by backing our initiatives. His vision and mission has steered this company to be one of the most reputed companies in agro division. At Sun Impex, we are proud to be the symbol of trust in the agro-product industry, categorizing pulses, beans, lentils, spices, oilseeds, bird, and animal feed. Sun Impex started its journey in the year 2012. Dubai has been a central hub, allowing us to have a strong foothold in India, Myanmar, Africa, Russia, Singapore, Algeria, Vietnam, Australia, and further embark internationally over the coming years. Our product lines have been multiplying, and so is our team members representing Sun Impex at various office locations, which has helped us grow as a global company with a global vision. We also have another established vertical of plant-based proteins, fruit and vegetable ingredients in our portfolio, which we trade globally. As quoted by our director and our founder, Mr. Suman Bindal, today is a true milestone for Sun Impex, a vision created to provide our customers with an extensive range of product categories while considering product quality. Now, without further ado, let's know more about Sun Impex, and thank you so much for your time. Can you please play the video?
Vasadji, you are live.
Yeah, okay. Our next panel is going to be on Urad. And we have Anant Chaje from Myanmar and Mr. Lalit Pant from India. Anant is based in Myanmar and serves as the country head at Swiss Singapore Overseas. He has 19 years of diversified trading experience across commodities such as fertilizers, sulfur, coal, steel, petroleum products, and agricultural products such as pulses, rice, and maize. and is responsible for a multi-million-dollar budget to deliver results. Anant also serves as the Vice President of OTA Myanmar. Lalit is a postgraduate from Symbiosis University, is a pulses trader at Vetera, India. And he started out with cotton, eventually moving to pulses, and has been a part of commodity trading for the last 10 years. Mr. Pant is a core member of the team at Vetera, India, that is responsible for developing the company's interest in pulses milling and marketing of finished goods. So without much ado, I'd like to transfer the mic to Mr. Anant for his presentation on India. Anand, before you come, I'd just like to announce that we have 187 attendees at the moment live with us from over 12 different countries. So thank you so much. Over to you.
Hello. Hello. Am I? Okay. Thank you. Good evening to all our viewers who have logged in from different geographies, different places in India, Africa, Myanmar, all the trade stakeholders. And thanks, Vatsalji, for the generous introduction. So I'll straight away start with my presentation. Yeah, next slide, please. About Myanmar, it has already been covered in the previous presentation, but what I like to highlight here, Myanmar remains an agricultural based economy with most of the labor force, around 70%, being engaged in agricultural activities. It is the largest exporter of beans and pulses in Asia. So this is a very striking fact. And second one is that Myanmar has the largest agri-ecological land area in continental Southeast Asia. So a lot of potential is there in the Myanmar agriculture to grow. When we talk about, increasing production for the required pulses, so there is a huge potential available. Then Myanmar also, it shares its borders with India and China, and both of these countries are the largest pulses consumers in the world, as we know. That's all. Rest, I think it has been discussed. Next slide, please. Black mape or urad, it is pretty versatile and it is consumed in multiple forms in India. It can be consumed as a split, can be boiled, roasted, or it can be ground to make flour. It is a rich source of protein, carbohydrates, phosphoric acid, and calcium. It is consumed across India, finding its way in any standard vegetarian Indian meal. And India is the largest producer of black mape, and interestingly enough, is also the largest importer and consumer in the world. Next slide, please. Here I have tried to capture and give an idea to our viewers which are the major growing regions of black mape in Myanmar. Urad is mainly grown in the delta region of Myanmar. If you see in the map, the delta region is highlighted with a gray and black color. This is the main growing region for black mape. Almost it covers 95% of the crop which comes in Myanmar. And the whole delta region is the region accompanying, it's surrounding Yangon. Ayeyarwady and Bago divisions, as we see in the map, they contribute to over 95%, with the key growing centers as Hindara, Mobin, Nyongdon, P, etc. Urad is mainly sown in the post-monsoon winter season, and it is harvested in the months of January, February, and March. So the harvest is yet to begin. Actually, we had an early crop in December, and now we are just waiting for the arrivals to begin for the new crop of 2023. Average production period for urad is 3 to 4 months, which is quite fast, and it is much less than rice, which is the main staple and mostly grown crop in Myanmar. We have seen some early crop of urad, as I mentioned. Raw urad is processed and sized to make 2 varieties mainly, that is FAQ and SQ. Next slide, please. Coming on to the numbers, for which I think most of our viewers must be waiting. So I will run you through the slide. For the year 2022, we had opening stock of around 45,000 metric tons. Production last year, that is 22, was 675,000. Exports 650,000, and balance we are expecting 70,000 tons in is the carryover stock. Talking of the next year, that is 2023, the new year, production we are expecting around 800,000. So I'll also explain why this 800,000. There are two major factors which really give us this positive number. One is the weather run up to the harvest. So this year the weather has been pretty good in Myanmar, with almost no disturbances which could impact the quality of the crop. So we are expecting a good amount of sowing, even if it is reasonably sown as last year. The production is going to be higher. And second most important factor here is the crop has not got any disturbance in terms of the weather, and also the sowing has increased. The acreage has increased this year. So that is also one factor which we have to consider. Exports we are expecting around 780. It's just an estimated number because the crop has not started yet, but I just have put a number for the viewers to consider, and balance carryover whatever 90,000 it should be ideally. The announcement again of the OGL until 2023, and then extension by the Government of India. These proved to be very positive steps which have helped enhance the production of urad and tur, as we saw in the presentation earlier. More consistent import policy from Indian government, it will help increase production in Myanmar. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anant. We have a few questions for you. Can you walk us through your method as to how you arrived at the crop numbers? Because, there's always this thought in people's mind, and I saw a question from one of the viewers also, that he says there's a mystery as far as what the production numbers are, what the stock available in Myanmar at any point in time is. So can you throw some light on this so that it gives confidence to people on how the numbers have been accounted for?
Sure, Vatsalji. Mainly to assess the crop, we have discussions with people on the ground at the district centers. The district centers are the major mandis in the growing regions in Myanmar. Then we also discuss with the key traders, local stockists in Myanmar, to arrive at an average number. So we have to take the lower and the higher than a mean of that number to arrive at the best estimate of crop which can be harvested in Myanmar as a best estimate on a worst scenario basis. So that is how we arrive at the number. All this is done to have a holistic view of the crop availability on best endeavor basis, as I mentioned. So this year, weather run-ups to the harvest, it has been very good. So that also is a factor needs to be considered in our estimation. And the change in acreages has been a major factor as well. So there is a lot of crop substitution towards MAPE in Myanmar that we have seen.
Okay, Anand, thank you for that answer. The other question that we have for you is, what do you estimate the SQ percent to be in the new Delta and the Bago crop? And I ask this question because now it has been well accepted that higher the SQ content, better is the crop in terms of quantity and quality.
Sure. Given the favorable weather conditions this year, Vasalji, the farmers are expecting higher yields in MAPE overall across Myanmar. But although when we talk about SQ percentage, it depends on the crops from region to region. So, there can be a lot of complex scientific factors involved when we try to determine what is the reason of difference. But on an average, we are expecting 40 to 45% average SQ percent this year in the crop.
Okay, thank you for that. And lastly, most important question, which I think everybody is waiting for. Where do you see the prices for Feb March on a CNF Chennai basis, both for FAQ and SQ?
Sure. So actually, February mid onwards, we will see the arrivals to start in Urad. Some arrivals will start by next week. So when I am saying February mid, that is, they should start to pick up from that time. There is an insignificant forward trade in Urad so far. So we have not seen too much of Urad being booked as it was the case in tour. So prices will be driven mainly by demand from India. So if they have enough stocks, they can wait for the new crops to come in, or they want to buy all on a spot basis. So that will all mainly depend on how India is placed currently. Expecting a bigger crop than last year, obviously, our best expectation is that price will remain range bound. So that is what I expect. On a FOB basis, I will share it should be in the range of 700 to 710 on a lower side and 750 to 760. So in FAQ on FOB basis, FOB Yangon. And likewise in SQ, it should be around 810, 820 levels to 860, 870. So MAPE, most likely our reasonable estimate is that it will remain range bound, and we don't see too much of a very high volatility this year in the prices.
Anand, thank you so much. Now I'm just looking at the tab for the questions and answers. I don't see anything for, okay, there are a few questions. What is the crop size which comes out? What is the crop size of MAPE which comes out in December? This is one of the questions that has been asked of you.
It's a very small size. It's quite insignificant. It's around 30 to 40,000 metric tons as per our estimate. That's the early sowing crop, basically, which comes from the upper Myanmar regions. It is not from the Bago and the Delta region.
And is the quality very similar to Bago and Delta, or there is some sort of a difference?
No, quality is quite inferior. I mean, when you compare the two, so Bago obviously is the mainstay. That's the main crop, and that is very good in quality compared to this upper Myanmar crop. And the main differentiator in the quality being the brown seeds percentage. So the brown seeds, once the percentage goes high, it adds to the stickiness of the crop. So it's not preferred by the millers in India particularly.
Okay, and last question for you. Somebody has asked, Anand sir, what could be the price trading range for the next 6 to 9 months?
6 to 9 months is it's a fairly big period to estimate when we don't have the crop arrivals starting in Myanmar as yet. Mainly it will depend on the Indian demand, as I say, because in pockets how India stands, the Indian millers stand in terms of cargo availability. That is the key factor, because if they don't have much cargo at the ports, in the warehouses, in pipeline, that leads to a sudden rush in prices. And once again, when the arrivals are there at Chennai port, we have seen the prices cooling off immediately. So these factors will obviously determine the prices in the long run. But as far as my estimate is concerned, we have a very good crop at hand in Myanmar, and that will suffice the needs of Indian imports if we don't see any unpleasant situation arising during the period.
Okay, Anand, thank you so much. Fantastic presentation. And I'd like to bring in Mr. Lalit Pant now to give his presentation on the Indian demand and supply. Over to you, Lalit. Thanks, Anand.
Hello to viewers from all over the world. Regards to the officials from government who have taken time to join us for this. Best wishes to OATA to organize this webinar and stress on the point on how much important the relationship between India and Myanmar is with respect to tour and MATPE. So I'll just begin my presentation. Shared by a lot of people in this webinar that pulses is actually one of the most underrated items in the whole grains basket, And out of that, black matpe happens to be one of the most rich in terms of minerals, vitamins, and essential minerals, which kind of help your body in increasing, gut health, heart health, bone health, and many other areas in which you gain nutrition from. Matpe is also one of the key pulses which is used in cooking of South Indian food, especially idli, dosa, vadas, and also one of our favorite dals, which is the dal makhani. So you can say that matpe is one of the most versatile crops or one of the most versatile dals which the Indian kitchen has and adds so much value and flavor in our lives. I'll just start with explaining a brief scenario of the situation in India. We have matpe growing in two seasons, the Kharif and Rabi season. In Kharif, mostly the crop is grown in the northern and central part of India, being the lion's share of Kharif crop and about 45% of the Kharif portion. During this Kharif season, the central belt is the one which is actually rich and in surplus of the production, and that is the time when this crop is supplied to northeastern, northern, and southern part of the country. The southern part of the country, which is about 20% of the population of the entire country, is actually the highest per capita consumption of matpe, and the total 5 states put together is about 45% of the consumption of black matpe. On the right side, the map you see is of the Rabi portion, which is 30% of the total country's crop. This crop is mainly grown between Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu, which is nearly 85 to 90% of the total Rabi crop. And almost entirely, this entire crop, which is similar to SQ varieties, consumed within the southern states itself. In between, there is also the Zayed crop, which is estimated to be around 80,000 tons, comes in late summer. And there are also, smaller crops which are grown across the country, which kind of keeps adding to the overall availability throughout the year. So, in a nutshell, it is basically during the Kharif portion when the central India supplies to the South India, and during the Rabi portion when the central India and the North India is at a deficit of production. That is the time when Myanmar imports keep adding to the supply to the country. That is why you see a lot of volatility in the matpe market across the year. This graph shows you the government estimates on Urad production. What I have done is taken the first advanced estimate of the Kharif portion which is available, and I have added the average of last 5 years of the Rabi portion, and my number has come to 2.7 million tons versus a 2.84 million tons last year. This estimate is about 5% down from the previous year. Our internal studies also suggest that around 7 to 10% production, less production is likely during this year. I have made this chart which shows you the monsoon top left. You have a graph which shows you the district wise weekly rainfall departures from normal. In a nutshell, what you see is that the UP belt, which is East UP, consisting of districts like Unnao, Lalitpur, Jhansi, Mahoba, these districts received much lower than normal rainfall during the cultivation cycle, and unfortunately, it was met by extremely high rainfall during the first 2 weeks of September. Luckily, our farmers were in anticipation of this heavy rainfall, and there was early harvest of the crop in UP this year. The left bottom chart is showing you the rainfall, district-wise rainfall for Rajasthan, wherein you see that for a lot of weeks in July, the rainfall in a lot of districts was much higher than normal. Again, followed by at least two such weeks in August, then a very dry second half August, and an extreme floods in Pakistan. That same rainfall system went through Rajasthan and created a lot of problems for the matpe crop and hampered the overall size and the quality of parameters also. On the right hand side, the top graph is showing the districts in MP, which is again extremely radical, non-favorable rainfall for matpe crop. And the one below shows you Maharashtra, which again wasn't the most ideal of situations. What I'm trying to say is that it's not as if the crop was at a complete disaster, something like what happened in 2019 when it was nearly 40% wiped off. But it has these kind of differential weather patterns have caused nearly 30 to 40% as per trade estimates, 30 to 40% of crop to have poorer quality than normal. This chart shows you the price action over the last 5 years. We have seen that during 2017 and 2019, there was a lot of surplus in terms of production, which is why the crop largely traded around 20 to 30% below the MSP. And during 2020, 2021, and last year, we have seen that due to good demand, this above the MSP levels, showing you that the MSP of 63 is also a very good return to the farmer, as well as there is definitely good demand at this level from the consumer as well. This year, the current prices are about 5 to 7% lower than MSP. I'm talking about the FAQ variety. Last year's low had gone down to 56,000 for the FAQ quality. From current levels, we feel that there could be a further downside of 5 to 7%, but nearly 10% below the MSP level, which is 66%, the market should form a very good bottom for the prices to rally in the future. This price chart is slightly closer. This shows you the last 1 year's activity, and right now, as I said, there is incredible amount of imports from Myanmar, but also on the other side, the Indian market is kind of hand to mouth. There is not a lot of carry in the market, which is why all the imports are easily lapped up by the consumers and going directly into production and consumption. This is as per a government study. The consumption share that you see, we have kind of established that the southern states are the ones which are rich in production of matpe, and despite a 20% share in population, they are nearly 45% of the entire country's consumption, telling you that the southern states or the South Indian food is much rich in matpe, and months a year. On the right hand, imports that we have had primarily from Myanmar. There is no other source for black matpe. We've had an exciting last 3 years of imports from Myanmar, and given the various opinions of a crop of nearly 700,000 tons or more from Myanmar, we can expect nearly 85 to 90% of that crop to make its way into India. We have a very similar supply and demand situation in India this year, and going forward, the only thing that could add more crop to come into India is the crop which usually goes into Sri Lanka and Pakistan. That share could reduce and probably find its way into India as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lalit. Fantastic presentation. You've put the whole thing in detail: the rainfall, the consumption, the production in India. Now we have a few questions for you. We see a lot of concentration of shipments to Chennai. Can you tell us whether buyers in Delhi and the northern states of India, whether they find it conducive enough to receive shipments out of Chennai? Over to you.
Vatsalji, we have seen that this is actually a more of a behavioral aspect than just a supply and demand situation. A couple of years back, the Chennai market used to trade, much lower, but because of that was just because of the freights. Today also, the inland freight will actually be able to balance itself by way of demand, and the outbound freight will also balance itself by way of demand.
Lalit is having some bandwidth issues, so Vasalji, if you can.
Okay, so let me go back to Mr. Manor Bhojwani if he is there. Are you there, Manor? Because there was a question that was there for you, which we were not able to ask. Manor, are you there?
No, I think he has logged out.
Yeah.
Probably
Vatsalji,
lost
can
his
you hear me
connection.
now?
Okay,
Yes,
so
I think Lalit is back, Vasalji. you
Lalit
can
is back.
continue.
yeah, Lalit, carry on.
Sorry, I don't know till where my voice was audible, but I was just saying that buyers preferring Chennai as the port is more of a behavioral issue than anything, because the price differences, the shorter voyage time, the difference in the inland freights, that all can be absolutely adjusted by way of the supply and demand situation.
I think we have lost him again.
But I think Chennai is more conducive environment for trading with patients, which is why a lot more people are preferring Chennai as the import port over Mumbai.
Okay, understood. Now, the next question for you is, there is a lot of talk regarding consumption of pulses in India actually having dropped on a per capita basis. Can you throw some light on this?
Yes, we've also noticed this pattern over the last few years. I would like to throw some numbers at the audience. We've observed that the food service market has been growing at a CAGR of about 11%, and it is touted to grow at that rate till 2028. The quick service restaurants growth is touted to be around 23% CAGR between 2020 and 2025, and thereafter a CAGR of 11%. Now, why I say quick service restaurants is because these are the restaurants which consist of brand like McDonald's, Pizza Hut, Domino's, Burger King, and the likes. And the fact that if you would just take any of their menu cards, you would not be able to find a lot of items which are made out of pulses. And come to think of it, the more number of people in urban India step into a McDonald's and replace that meal with a burger rather than eating at home, the more people will actually they are kind of saying goodbye to that. All in all, every meal that is will reduce the consumption of pulses. Also, the annual spending on outside food has doubled in tier 2 and tier 3 cities in India in the last 2 years. There is a systematic rise in urban population in India versus the rural population. We have come to nearly 65% rural population as of today. And you also see the online food delivery market, which is also growing at nearly 20% CAGR every year. and these are also cuisines wherein there is a sort of a they are non-pulses rich cuisines which the urban India or the young India likes to order online. Although there is sort of a silver lining, especially for Matpe, because we've seen that we've got a lot of people stepping out to eat their meals, and 80% of the population which does not live in South India is kind of moving towards consumption of South Indian cuisine. And this rise in South Indian cuisine, which is primarily rich in black matpe, also tells you that black matpe consumption might be the only pulses which is increasing year on year by around 2-3%.
Okay, thank you so much. But do we have some precise numbers in terms of per capita consumption or the various pulses, or that's a little far-fetched at this point?
There was a study which the government used to do. It was on the lines of the census study. It used to be called the intake study and also the consumer spending study, which they did last in 2012, and the 2017 reports were not published because of some reason. If that study is done in line with the census study, it usually is done on a sample size of 40 lakh households, and that could probably give you a good idea onto per capita consumption patterns. I have used an older study in 2000 consumption of all the states, but per capita number would be a hard one right now unless a very wide, detailed study is conducted, like the one by the government.
Okay, thank you so much. And the last question for you is, at what rate do you think large traders and MNCs shall enter the matpe market for ownership through the season? What are the price that you think will entice them?
I can't, a price level in and around the MSP or maybe 5 to 10% below the MSP for the FAQ equivalent should be a good price. Vatsalji,
We lost you a little bit over there. Can you just repeat it, because we were not able to hear you at all?
I was just saying that, I won't be able to speak for the industry, but, just a generic comment is probably around 5 to 10% below MSP would be a safe level to enter. And that is where I see most of the longs creating this season. But the situation is pretty much similar to last year in terms of demand and supply. And we could see a very similar price move this year also, given everything goes normal.
So if you were to translate that into dollars per metric ton CNF Chennai, what sort of a number would that ballpark be?
I would say around 730, 740 would be my best guess.
Okay, thank you. This is for FAQ, of course.
Yeah.
Now, Lalit, I have a question, and this question is basically on behalf of the various Myanmar suppliers for tour. I know this was a question that I should have asked Manohar, but he is sort of logged out. Can I ask you if you don't mind? And the question is that we saw a lot of Myanmar shipments come down drastically after the Africa crop started last year. Of course, the price difference was high, which is probably one of the reasons. But we also heard that in certain areas of India, many of the millers have no option but to run their plants on Myanmar lemon. Can you walk us through this phenomenon? Because Myanmar suppliers who are listening in are very interested as to why, in spite of a price difference being as high, there were some people who possibly would have no option but to run lemon. Over to you. Are you there?
Vatsalji, I'm question again.
Okay, so the question was, last year in the month of August, when the Africa crop for lemon started, a lot of the shipments out of Myanmar sort of came down because of the huge price difference. But at the same time, we were hearing that a lot of millers, especially in Maharashtra and the central part of the country, would only run on lemon, irrespective of what the price difference be. So Myanmar suppliers, they are a little intrigued by this, and they would like to know as to what really happens in terms of the thinking of the millers in India. Can you just walk us through that? Are you there?
Am I? I'm unable to hear you. Are you referring to tour suppliers from Myanmar not being able to sell during the African arrivals? Is that right?
Yeah. So the exports had come down, but still we had a fair amount of business at that time. And the reason being given was that some millers had no option but to run on lemon because of whatever reason. So can you tell us as to what those reasons could be?
Yes. So from what we observed in the market last year, the a lemon crop is pretty much comparable to the domestic crop in India, and around uh, August, September last year, we saw that the Indian crop stocks were at an all-time low. This was also because last year's domestic tour crop was actually hit by a fair margin, which was acknowledged by the trade and by the government and from various sources. Due to this, the people who run the lemon or the domestic crop, which is a similar size crop, will have to always rely on that crop. There is a absolutely different market for the millers who are running the African crop, in which the size is much bigger, and usually it would take almost a month for them to complete the milling cycle and then switch over to the bigger size crop, which is why you would see, if I were running domestic and I would not find domestic at a reasonable price, the only other option for me is to move on to lemon.
Okay, understood. Thank you so much. With this, we come to the end of the Urad panel discussion. The last discussion that we have, and I'd like to bring in Mr. Nirav Desai, who is the Managing Director of GGN Research and Nickel Commodities, to give us an overview on Tuar and Urad. To introduce Mr. Desai, he has over a decade of experience in pulses and oilseed sector. He is an expert in conducting market research studies and has vast experience in future market of agro commodities. He is an expert on agro futures and is on the advisory board and the product committee of both the NCDX and the MCX. He is also an executive committee member of the Solvent Extractors Association of India. Mr. Desai has been invited to national and international conferences to present research papers on subjects like the cost of agricultural commodities to an Indian farmer, Rabi and Kharif crop outlook for various agro commodities, including pulses and oilseeds, to name a few, and is regularly invited to share his expertise and views in pulses and oilseed by leading news channels like CNBC, Awaz, Z Business, and UTV Bloomberg. With this, I'd like to hand it over to Mr. Nirav Desai. Over to you, sir.
Hi. I'd like to thank OTA, Mr. Vatsal Lilani, and the others here on behalf of OTA Myanmar. And I'd go straight to my presentation. I think a lot of time has gone. The Kharif pulses outlook, especially the Urad and Tur. So if we see the area this year has gone down in Tuar by about 2 lakh hectares in India, and Urad by about 1,51,000 hectares. I think majorly the poor prices of pulses compared to the other crops like soybeans, cotton, corn has made this shift happen in Tuar and Urad. Going to the weather, I would say for Urad, this was very important that the monsoon arrived in a little late. Urad is generally planted in the mid of June and harvested quite early in September. So we missed that window of the timely monsoon. The monsoon set in late in June, maybe early July. So there was that is one more reason for Urad the area to reduce. Later on, I would say that there was normal rains in July and August, except in Uttar Pradesh, which Lalit also told. So rains occurred throughout the part of India in Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Rajasthan. UP was the one which was little left out. Late season rains delayed the harvest, and some crop damage happened in MP, especially. So this is another reason why I think Urad, when we'll go forward, we'll see there was a little loss there in MP in quality for Urad. Weather remained dry after mid-October. So for Tuar, that has been good for that time. I would say not a very extreme winter this year till the December month. Yeah, January has been quite volatile. Some days have been really cold. Some days have been hot. So I would say still it's near the harvest, so not a major impact on Tuar that ways. You can see the rainfall pattern that I discussed. So June was deficit, July, August was excess. But here it is important to see that September was excess and October was vastly excess. And I would say, particularly in Maharashtra, we saw that till 15th of October, there was good rains. In southern MP also, there were good rains. So I would say area in MP shows a little increase in Urad, but I feel the crop damage also happened in MP. And I would say a slightly area increase in North MP that had happened. The quality, the late arrival of rains did affect the, I would say, the sown crop, as well as the late September rains and early October rains also damaged the quality there. And that is the reason why we are expecting the yields to be slightly lower. So even after a good area increase, Madhya Pradesh could not contribute to the overall increase of production. Uttar Pradesh, as we mentioned, the yields are lower. Rajasthan slightly higher. Maharashtra nearly same. But overall, as the area has decreased and the overall yield prospects has been lower because of this late heavy rains, I would say the Urad prospect were lower for the crop this year. Broadly, I've covered a lot of these things in the last slide, but yes, the MSP was maintained at 6,600 from 6,300. Sowing was delayed, all that has been covered. So overall, lower Urad crop in India, Tuar. So Maharashtra saw a clear decrease in area of Tuar, as I said, because of cotton and soybean prices being very well rewarding to the farmers, even corn prices. So Maharashtra, Karnataka, the core belts have shown a decrease. MP has shown a little increase, but take it with a pinch of salt. You can't double the area very shortly. So we still have a lower area. Yield for Tuar, I would say the weather was good because the Tuar is harvested later on, but the end September, early October rains in some parts of Maharashtra, we see complaints of yield getting disturbed because of some heavy rains and untimely rains in that period. Rest, I would say that the weather in winters have been good. As I mentioned, till December, it was largely very normal. Maharashtra has this winter not seen any extreme weathers. So overall, in winters, there has been no major problem. And on account of lower acreage and slightly lower yield, the overall production this year in Tuar is low. So I would conclude, say, due to poor prices last year, there is a shift from pulses to cotton, maize, soybeans, and the other crop. Urad, Tuar, and other pulses are showing a net decline in acreage. Above average rainfall and favorable weather conditions supported the pulses crop, but I would say the late arrival of monsoon for Urad and the late season rains spoiled the game for Urad, as well as a little bit of Tuar also, as far as the yield is concerned. So finally, a lower Urad and Tuar crop is expected this year. Thank you.
Neera, thank you very much. I'm going to see as to whether any of the viewers have a question for you. You'll have to give me a minute on that.
Sure.
I did see one question for Lalit Pant. Okay, this is a question that has been sent by Mr. Sanjeev, and it says, for Lalit Pant, 7 to 10% short production in India this year should get offset easily by excessive production in India. So I didn't understand this. And hence, do you see price fall this year despite stocks being hand to mouth? All figures shown as from Government of India production always considered exaggerate. What are the trade estimates for Urad? I mean, I think this question is a little badly worded, so I'm going to skip it.
Vatsalji, if I can interrupt, I can probably understand the typo there. Probably what he means is that the short production in India is going to be offset by Myanmar, which is partly correct. That Myanmar is harvesting a slightly bigger crop, but always remember that the 7 to 10%, which I mentioned, is the downside on the India's crop last year, which is a much bigger crop. So the 10% on that is much bigger. Yes, the situation is not all that crazy this year. The SND is similar to last year. The one thing one has to note is the government of India estimates this year is showing about 5%, and they are also showing a 5% downside. Might end up with a production number which is lower by 5% approximately, and the trade is estimating around 10% lower. So that 10% lower which would come in will be, you can say, partially supplemented by the increase in Myanmar numbers. But there is also a 3%, 2% increase expected in consumption this year. Last year, we had 2 months of Omicron, due to which the consumption in the Horeca sector was hit. This year, we are pre-COVID levels, if not higher.
Lalit, thank you very much. I don't see any more questions for anybody.
Vatsal, I have one question which could either be answered by Lalit or by Nirav. What do you expect the sowing for the Rabi Urad? Do you expect any increase in that or any drop there also, or will it maintain the same levels as prior?
I would say that the Rabi acreage could nearly be the same of last year. No major changes expected overall that ways. And as far as the yield is concerned, the weather has been very good for the Rabi crops this year. No extreme weathers. And that too, the Rabi Urad is especially sown in the southern part of India. So that generally does not see extreme weather otherwise also.
So what do you think would the production be out of Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu? How do you expect it to go? Or Lalit, if you can take that question.
I would agree with Neerabhai here. The Rabi consumption, the Rabi production usually doesn't vary much because it's usually for their own consumption in the South Indian states. And this year too, I have not done a lot of research on it, but government is showing 5% lower acreages till like last week. But it is somewhat going to be similar to last year. The weather has been good, so there is no yield issues as such.
Thank you. Back to you, Vatsal.
Thank you so much. With this, we are at the end of our Urad and Tuar panel discussions. I'd like to bring in Mr. Anand Chajid, who's the Vice President of OTA, to deliver the closing remarks and close the webinar in a formal way. Thank you.
Good evening to all our audience, viewers from all across geographies once again. First of all, on behalf of OTA, I would like to thank the dignitaries, Shri Rohit Kumar Singh Ji, Secretary, Department of Consumer Affairs, Government of India, His Excellency Ambassador to Myanmar for having accepted the invite and sharing their thoughts on this webinar. It's a matter of great honor for us at OTA for having both the dignitaries on our platform. Secondly, I'd like to thank all our speakers who accepted to share their views. And finally, our sponsors. The title sponsor, Sun Impex, gold sponsors, RV International, Young Marine International, silver sponsor, BLPL Singapore, MTTM Integrated Shipping, Sudima International, and all our advertisers whose financial support was paramount to have arranged this event. At today's webinar, OTA has worked to bring the best estimate of crops and the real on-ground situation in Myanmar in front of our viewers, India and Africa as well, to give our industry colleagues a clearer view. While no forecast can be absolutely accurate, our figures are based on bona fide intentions. So hope all our audience, they have got insights into the crop numbers, and hope this will help all the stakeholders in their trades going forward. Thanks for overall support by the audience, which motivates OTAM every time to organize more such events in future. Thank you all once again.